The wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Kathy Campbell.
I'm Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr.
And we are into the thick of it. Episode 5. Maureen, why don't you tell us all about it?
Right, so we are doing episode 5 of season 3 of the Wheel of Time television show. This episode is called Tel'aran'rhiod. This episode was directed by Marta Cunningham, and it was written for television by Age Ibironke.
Nice. Excellent. All right, this was a very informational episode. Very, moving the pieces. I feel like the last episode would have, in traditional television, this would have been like a sweeps episode, getting, dramatic moments, emotional, highs, lows, all of that. And this, while it has some pieces of it, a lot of it is very much like, let's move the people where they need to move. Yes, there's a lot of information and, some character building and some really great moments in it, but overall it's very much a let's get people where they need to be, which there is nothing wrong with that.
In some cases, it's literally in transit, on his ship.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes, exactly. And this episode starts with a very, very short cold open, especially compared to episode 1 and episode 4. Where Maureen is playing with the Sakarnan. Her faces of euphoria, as she describes later, this just showcases how incredibly talented Rosamund is. For being able to come and just capture this moment, the struggle, the pain, the pressure, all of that is interwoven into this moment. Until it causes her to collapse. Thankfully, she hasn't, burnt herself out. So she collapses into Lan's arms, and Lan is obviously curious about, what the heck is going on. And instead of answering, Maureen asks what he felt. And he says it was euphoric, hunger and thirst, but deeper. And I think that's just a really great explanation of what, Rosamund is showcasing in that moment. And so it's neat to kind of put that into words and have the moments of it, really shown, and then told.
What do you think Maureen was doing with this crystal globe that she found in Ruidian?
I think she was testing the power, see how much she could get from it, because I don't know if this is something that the tower has known of, or if they thought it was lost, or we don't have a lot of talk about the Angreals from the White Tower. We don't know a lot about what they know. And so it's entirely possible, especially because it's clearly been lost for a while. I'm guessing it was put in when it looks like it was put in when, what's her name? Lytra.
Latra Posite.
Latra put it, used it to create the columns and then probably put it back in its little hole. And so it hasn't been touched for however long that was. And so it's hard to say what information is known about it. And so she's probably testing the ranges, testing how much she can channel, maybe if there is a barrier on it, like a limit or a protection to keep her from burning out, or what she can do, how she can manipulate smaller weaves maybe. Basically just a lot of
practicing and testing, you're thinking there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that, and the way the power surged and kind of fought her, it
Mm-hmm.
definitely seemed like she was trying to understand how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is, we'll talk more about this in the book section, but there was a section in one of the books where the Aes Sedai are using a very powerful Sangreal, and they're doing it uh, in full knowledge that that much power being channeled could be felt basically the world over. It would be
Mm-hmm.
like a beacon. So I was wondering if Moraine is also kind of like announcing something, you know?
Oh,
Could she be
maybe.
could she be forcing a confrontation
Yeah,
that that she knows she's
letting, yeah.
seen the future and
Mm-hmm.
she knows she has to face Lanfear at some point. Maybe she's trying to
Mm-hmm.
force it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
No, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a really good
So
point, especially with the
little,
gigantic, twisting that was done to the earth as the cold open ends. You can see
yeah.
what has done to this massive space. And so yeah, it's entirely possible. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see a combination of both maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Was that it looked like there was a kind of a spiral shape in the ground, but sort of like wedges. Did you make anything of that shape? I hadn't seen it before, but
It looked pinwheel-esque.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
was curved, like it would blow in the wind.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's like the Mac waiting.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
loading.
Yeah, the spinning rainbow.
Maybe that's
Yep,
what it was.
yep, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Before it zooms out though, Lan asks what she saw in the rings, and she doesn't tell him. And I think that's really momentous. She's not giving away the secrets. She's not telling him, things that he thinks he wants to know, like
Mhm.
what he's choosing. She is choosing to keep this from him, and why we're not 100% sure. But she's very clearly doesn't want to talk about it and won't talk about it to Lan.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is the cold open. It's only a couple minutes long. Very different than the rest of the season so far.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Let's head. So once again, we are going to break up this episode by location, since it's not a single location like last episode was. And we are going to start with the Elaine and Nynaeve Detective Agency. As they head to Tanchico, we are seeing Nynaeve, Elaine, and Matt are in the hold in the boat, and Nynaeve is not doing well. Elaine is hanging in there as best she can by, spouting the knowledge that she has as she's looking through a book, trying to share that knowledge. And Matt is just kind of over all of it. He's
Mhm.
so done, which I can't even imagine. We learn a little bit later that they've been traveling together for 2 weeks, and Nynaeve has been vomiting the entire time. I
Oh, God. Ugh.
cannot even imagine the smell in
Mm.
that room. Like, absolutely disgusting.
Mhm.
And Matt pushes back of like, hey, you need to stop. I cannot take this anymore, because clearly this is also what she has been doing the entire 2 weeks, talking things through. They're trying to plan, and
Mhm.
Elaine is over Matt's attitude and is like, you need to go drink yourself into a stupor and ask, where Leandrin is in the old tongue. Like, they're just like bickering like crazy. And they want to, Matt wants to go up onto the deck, and Elaine is like, no, we're not allowed to. That was our deal. And it was the only thing we had to promise. And you do not break deals with the sea folk, period. Like, that is just like, nope, don't do it. And then Elaine looks out the window, or the porthole. Is that what they're called? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm a sailor.
Hello, sailor.
Yeah. And sees. Now, I didn't catch what it was that she saw, like what she named out the window. But that basically.
Yeah. It's Windbiter's finger, I think it was. And basically a landmark that shows they are much further along than they should be in 14 days.
Yes.
They've traveled much closer to their destination, and Elaine thinks that's just flat out impossible.
And Matt uses this as an option to let's go ask somebody, to kind of like let's figure this out. And he finally takes off by himself. And Elaine's gonna follow him, and Nynaeve asks for Elaine's help to get her upstairs. They come out, and you can kind of see this, like, feel this moment of relief. We've got the most epic music once again. Lauren Balfe comes in with these sea folk anthems, and it feels like the music feels Wheel of Time, and yet feels specific enough to be sea folk specific. So the talents in the music are just incredible. It's so beautiful. Until Nynaeve runs over to the other side of the deck to vomit over the side. And this of course catches the attention of who I'm assuming is the Wave Mistress. Basically the captain of the ship. Who is just rolling, like, she's so frustrated that here, these travelers are coming above decks. Like, hey, you were supposed to stay down. That's what you promised, and yet you didn't. Okay,
but she's more chill than I thought she would be, because
very much more chill, and we're really going to talk about that in the book section.
You betcha. Betcha.
Yeah.
But she even goes, girl who's sicking up all over the rail of my deck. You're from the mountains, aren't you? And she has an eye for this. She says you're trying to plant your feet in the wrong way. You got to roll with it. You got to go with the motion, and that actually helps Nynaeve. And so it's this little moment where she's saying, "Okay, I'll take care of you now. Let's go through it."
Yeah, you're clearly miserable. And after the begging that Elaine does, they are allowed to stay up on deck. Thankfully, because again, I cannot even imagine the stench. It's got. And Matt is lounging the way that Matt does, and sees someone that he's not expecting to see, who has climbed onto the boat, and that's Min. Min was on board, and Matt is super excited and chases her down the stairs, and it's like, please let me stay with you, please, Min. Min,
he doesn't care why she's there or what's going on. He just wants to stay in some other cabin.
Yeah. Like, please, anything else, if you please. And Min is just like, fine. The tortured older sister is kind of the energy that's getting from here. I think it's interesting to see. Nope, that's book talk. Never mind. Damn, man, this is so hard.
There's a lot.
So hard.
Well, and we can say that this episode is showing a lot of dynamics that we saw in the book, but in a different way. So again, I think there are a lot of things that are planted for readers that they can recognize, and we'll talk in detail about those. But it's hewing a little closer, if not in the details, certainly in the spirit.
Yeah, definitely. So the next bit of this is Matt is babbling to Min about, it's almost like he is finally has a chance to talk. Like, I feel like Elaine was talking so long. And Nynaeve was vomiting and trying to talk, that he's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. But like, hey, why were you following me? Like, why are you here? And then snatches a piece of, like, sees a sketch off of, the table and is like, you're an artiste. Ha 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 ha. And like tries, is playing a little bit of keep away as teasing.
Yeah.
The
Well,
way
it's like,
that a
you're
little
obsessed
brother,
with me. That's
yeah,
why you're doing it.
yeah,
And you're probably drawing pictures of me. And yeah, she was drawing a picture of
yep,
him, her vision of him being hanged. And so that's very sobering to him.
yeah,
Although he does play it off. He laughs it off to her, at least. He's not
yeah.
going to worry her.
Yeah.
Um,
But Min is saying that, like, she's trying to remember the details so she can help make it stop.
yeah, yeah.
And that, like, that's why she's doing this. Is kind of obsessed with, making sure that Matt is as safe as she can. She's taken this very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, her talk with Elida, I think, put that in her brain. Like, oh, well, I see this, but if I'm close by, I can
Yeah.
revive him, or I
The
can help him,
time,
or I can
yeah, the
whatever.
time leading up to it, the time
Yep.
afterwards, that's
Yeah.
where you have your degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
But Matt is denying it a lot for her sake and for his own sake, I'm sure, as well. He says, you know what? You even saw me killing Rand, stabbing Rand,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen. I'm not going to kill myself, I think. So, you don't have anything to
You're
worry
fine.
about.
It's going to be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
But once he kind of lies down to take a snooze, you can see he's lying awake and he's worried. He's thinking about what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is another, like, great example of, like, the acting chops that are in this show. You have Matt, this very mischievous, like, super, like, quirky, cheeky character, yada yada yada, and then Donald plays it perfectly in this moment of introspection, being able to slip down. He knows nobody's watching him. He's laying down, and you can see as his face almost like it wipes away, and you can see the worriedness. And so the balance between the actors being incredible and the direction and the filming and, like, whatever, all of the pieces involved just make it so incredible, to really highlight and exemplify. Like, I just want to call out, like, here's another great example of how perfect the casting is and how perfect, like, the writing and the directing and, like, all of these things are layered in, to just add that little extra bit of support and care, that make all the difference.
Absolutely.
Yep. And we flash up to the deck where Nynaeve and Elaine are finally asleep. But they get woken up by, I'm guessing, like, the wind rushing, the feeling of channeling, any of this, as the Sea Folk Windfinder. And now, of course, we know that's what this title is in the books. But the channeling people, the channeling sea folk on boats are called Windfinders, and she is throwing massive amounts of air, and I think, like, spirit might be in there too, whatever the yellow is, to just kind of, like, throw this in and let the wind, blow. And that is why they're going so fast, because they're using the one power, which is fantastic. It's really neat to see. And Nynaeve and Elaine learn from the Wave Mistress that this is why the Sea Folk don't like to have Aes Sedai on the deck. And Nynaeve is like, but hey, we were told that y'all don't have very strong channelers. Like, most of the time, sea folk don't become Aes Sedai. They can't even hold their power very long. And it's like, yeah, we have our own channeling traditions. We're doing that. And you basically, to keep the tower away from their own stuff. And this line, there are many ways to be a channeler, many ways to be a woman. I think that's really...
What do you think that meant? I couldn't decipher that second thing, although I kind of think back to the women's circle way back in season 1. And
Yeah.
You know.
So I think it means, you know, so obviously there's so many different ways to channel. We have, you know, the sea folk and Aes Sedai. We have, you know, we know as a viewer, the wise ones can channel. But also there's so many ways to be a woman. You can be a leader, you know, you could be a wave mistress, you can be a wise one, you can be an Aes Sedai, you can be, you know, a mother, wife, you know, business owner, cook, clean, like all of these things. You could be a queen, you know, or just, you know, a fisher wife. Like there's so many paths and options available, and there's still women, there's still like, this is still, hey, you are still identifying as a woman, just like you can identify as a channeler, regardless of what your training is involved in.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think one piece of lore that we learn here that maybe we didn't realize before, just in our depictions of the tower that we've seen, is that the Aes Sedai are pretty aggressive about you know, tying a string to anyone they find who can channel.
Yes.
They, you know, they consider themselves the governance of the One Power. The One Power exists under their purview. Women who can channel can, should, and will train in the tower before they're released and sent on back. But you know, by the time they go through their training, if they have any strength at all, they're going to be Aes Sedai. They're going to have, you know, a tie back to the tower. And like we saw in the scene between Queen Morghese, and the Amyrlin, you're wearing that ring. That means you answer to me, especially in this hall.
Yeah.
So it's very much a power thing. And these sea folk don't want to be a part of it. They said, we have our own hierarchies, we have our own traditions. We don't need you to teach us what it means to handle the One Power.
Yeah.
We do this, and we do this probably better than you.
Yeah, in particular,
at least as far as air goes.
Yeah, in particular types of flows, we clearly are doing it better. And the Wave Mistress also calls out that Nynaeve is blocked. Or was this the Windfinder that came down, or she was still channeling? Because
it was still the Wave Mistress who's talking to her.
I'm curious how she. So basically,
that is a good question.
Yeah, she's talking to Nynaeve and Elaine about like, hey, Nynaeve, you're probably blocked. You're not gonna give up control. Like, you probably like, do you like to give up control? Elaine's like laughing, like obviously Nynaeve doesn't like giving up control, but like, you know, channeling is like the sea. It can't be controlled. Like, it flows whether you want it to or not. Like, it's still there, whether or not Nynaeve can touch it. And Nynaeve is fighting to hold it, but Elaine, you know, can channel and is able to seize the power and whatnot. And yeah, Rajiv, in your notes, you know, put a bunch of question marks. I can't wait until we get the closed caption, because I have no idea what some of this was said.
Yeah. The Wave Mistress is kind of rattling off things like, Nynaeve, you fight to hold where she, meaning Elaine, stands. So Nynaeve is fighting, and Elaine just kind of accepts it. But then she goes and says, Elaine wants something that we couldn't make out, and that one of you is doing something and the other is not. So, you know, the Wave Mistress here has both of their numbers in a way that is probably deeper and more interesting than they would have realized she would have been able to discern. And given that this is the Wave Mistress and not the Windfinder, that's kind of interesting and weird.
Yeah. And so I wonder if, so this isn't a spoiler, but in the books, there are sisters that are in this ship in particular. And I wonder if, because the Wave Mistress and the Windfinder work so much together, I wonder if, you know, even if they're not actually sisters, like the relationship between, you know,
Yeah.
Captain and the you know, they talk a lot probably.
Yeah.
And so we saw the Wave Mistress call out Nynaeve for how she, you know, didn't have her sea legs because she was forcing against it. So it's entirely possible that she is seeing how Nynaeve interacted with just the ship in general and was able to make the adjustments of like, hey, you say you're an Aes Sedai, because of course, like, they get called Aes Sedai, and so the illusion is that they falsely implied their status as a full Aes Sedai instead of accepted. And so the Wave Mistress is kind of pulling her knowledge and interlinking it to have this discussion, because obviously too, you know, she's saying, hey, this is why we don't like Aes Sedai on the deck. But like, I know why, because of channeling and stuff. So even if she can't channel herself, she obviously has knowledge and information and is able to like.
She seems very experienced. She can read people. She's probably had tons of finders under her command.
Yeah.
She knows the problems they have, the things they have to overcome. You know, we get the experience that this is a very experienced woman.
Yes.
Who kind of is able to quickly assess a situation and judge. And the things she does do, you know, she allows them to stay up on deck, but she demands that they not tell the tower about their windfinders, which Elena's readily agrees to. Both of them do. And then she says, hey, pack your bags. We're going to be in Ted Chico soon.
Yeah. They're almost there. And I think this oath, because at first when I was watching this, I was like, how does the Wave Mistress know that they're not going to tell anybody? And it's like, oh, of course, they're verbally confirming, and they have the 3 oaths. So of course, in my mind, I was like, oh, they're why would you trust these accepted? But yeah, they're Aes Sedai. So obviously they're gonna tell the truth. And they find Matt, who introduces Min to Nynaeve and Elaine, and they're gonna talk about their plan. And Min is like, hey, I've actually been to Tanchico. I'm not just, you know, pulling the stuff out of books. Elaine. And I also have experience with Liandrin, to which Matt replies, don't we all? But she wants to help. There's a reason that she's here. And it's not just for Matt, I don't think. She knows that she is responsible for Egwene's trauma. She's responsible, like, partially for Nynaeve's trauma, and Elaine's trauma, like, and Matt's too. She wants to kind of soothe her inner forgiveness level. And Nynaeve asks, hey, can we trust her? And Matt says, yeah, we can trust her.
It's a little extraordinary, and maybe I'm carrying some of the ideas from the books in, but, you know, they accept Matt's word for this. Like, this is a crazy secret mission. We are pursuing the Black Aja on behalf of the tower, and we're going here to hunt Liandrin, a Black Aja sister. That is the kind of information that could get you killed. But, you know, just on Matt's word, they're willing to talk openly around Min.
Yeah.
So,
and I
that's
think,
cool.
and like, this isn't going into spoilers too much, but I think even in the books, if this had happened, they would have trusted Matt on this level, because even though, you know, Matt was a jokester and like, gambler and cheeky and causing trouble and whatnot, in the books at least, he has that level of loyalty that they understand. And so I think like, if Matt says I trust her, they're going to believe him and they're going to trust him, even in the books. I think if this had happened, they would have believed. Whether, like, would they let him do the whole plan? No.
Absolutely not.
But we're gonna trust, and in the books, one of the things that Matt and his dad do are they're good judges of horse flesh. They're able to trade horses and bet on horses and that sort of thing. And I think there's something that he talks about how he uses similar things for judging people. And so like has a level of like I can understand people pretty well, and so I think yeah there's a level of trust that
in season 1 that's what job he claims when they're in that the place with Dana, the barkeep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She's like, oh, I have a horse trader here with no horses.
Yep. So they make it to Tanchico. There's fireworks. The set design of Tanchico is perfect. It feels very, very much like what it was described. This place where you don't make eye contact. You're like, it's super dangerous. Don't like show any coin. They're passing, a hanged man on the docks, which of course makes Matt nervous, and probably Min a little bit too. But they have finally made it, and also Nynaeve hasn't thrown up in allegedly at least a day or two. So, that's good. That's good for everybody involved.
Indeed. I think that closes it out. Tanchico's a fun place, but we won't really get to explore it until next episode.
Stay tuned.
So where should we go next?
Let's head over to the Two Rivers.
Okay.
We've got Alana and Maxim are talking again, which is good. They've passed the point of being separated in their grief. And Alana is sewing, presumably, fixing holes in her clothing and stuff, to which Maxim teases her, you could just wear one of these sacks they sell here. And the look that Alana gives, man, if looks could kill, Maxim would have been dead like in a second. Like, she's so like, no, I can't even. And Maxim uses this as an opportunity. Well, we could go to Abu Dar. There's that great little place. We can get you some new clothes. Let's get some shopping. And Alana's like, no. But haven't you been having your eye on the baker boy? Like, don't you want to stay? And he makes a joke about how bad the bread is. And it's like, the implication is that any sort of physical relationship is going to be bad because he can't make good bread.
Fair enough. And these two are cosmopolitan city dweller types, and they are in the sticks. They are in the backwoods of Ass End of Andor, and it's not where they're used to going.
Yeah.
So
it feels,
Maxim obviously wants to leave.
It feels very much like first season of Schitt's Creek. Where the Rose family is in the motel in this tiny little thing, and they're just like, this is not like, is there room service at this motel? And they're like, no. It just they're fish out of water. Yeah,
definitely. And it kind of subtly raises the question, well, why are you here?
Why are they here?
It'll
be answered in a little bit.
Yeah, we won't spoil it. The answer is coming, but you should definitely kind of note that and say, okay, well, what's keeping them here?
Yeah.
Why are they doing that?
Well, and hopefully it's not a spoiler, because I'm hoping that you've watched the episode before you listen to this. But if not, that's okay too.
Well, is it? I didn't even remind myself.
It is in this. Yeah, I just
in this.
I just finished the episode like an hour and a half ago, so I know for a fact that it's in this.
All right. Well, anyway,
I don't know what happens in the future, but I know in this episode, and that's why, like,
very good.
One episode at a time, just for reference, y'all. We're recording this where we watch one episode and record it, with the exception of the first 3, obviously. And so we can keep the details of what happens in each episode centralized, so we're not talking about stuff in separate episodes. So
moving forward, Fail comes in.
Yes, with Bane and Chiad running
Yep.
ahead of the horse.
Yeah. And they have a report. The White Cloak reinforcements are coming. So if you're going to rescue Natty and the girls, the Cowthans, the time is now.
Yeah, we gotta go now. So how about we go now? Eh?
Yeah. So the White Cloak camp.
Yes. And Valda and Dane are talking about the information that we as viewers already know, that the reinforcements will get here tomorrow and they will march on the Two Rivers then. Valda wants to question Natty and the girls about where Perrin is, and Dane is like, no, you still can't. Until he goes in and is like, let's ask some more questions. Like,
yeah, Dane's willing to question them, but he knows that Valda's questioning is way too extreme.
Yes,
he still is clinging to this sort of veneer of I'm a good guy,
respectful, honor level.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let this maniac go and abuse our prisoners, but I do need this information.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go in there. But he's also kind of a drunk, and he's grieving and soaking himself in alcohol. So how effective he is sort of a big question here.
Yeah, but he's effective enough to notice when Natty tries to steal the keys, which means that he's not that drunk. And then, he gets blown away by a blast of the one power.
And by blown away, we just mean rolled
just like pushed away, like literally blown away, like literally moved to the other side of the tent. And Natty is like, okay, hey, this was me. She's gonna protect her daughters.
Well, Dane is saying, which one of you was a witch? And Natty volunteers, and that gets her dragged out of the cage and given straight to Valda for questioning. Because at this point, Dane's pride is hurt.
Yes.
There is a channeler here, and now the gloves are off.
Now, this is one thing that Dane can't necessarily find it in himself to protect these people, or give a restriction, because White Cloaks versus channelers is like the number one.
To touch the one power makes you a dark friend.
Yeah.
Period. That's what the White Cloaks believe. So at that point, you've lost all your rights. You've abdicated the protection of decent men like Dane Vornhold.
Yep.
And so now the maniac can
And I think this moment for Natty is kind of a mini redemption arc, because in the first season we don't know what's happened to Matt's dad, right? We haven't seen.
No.
I'm assuming he's dead.
He went. No, he went with the. He got the Ibaras out. It was Bran, Tam, and Abel got the Ibaras out of the Two Rivers.
Okay. So he took. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
So he survived Winter Night.
Yeah.
Okay.
But either way, he's not here. But we saw Natty being not a super great mom in the first season. Matt,
when the Trollocs attacked, she didn't know where her daughters were. Matt had to go out and rescue them.
Yeah, and it felt a lot like she didn't care. And so I like this bit of a redemption, seeing like, hey, she knows that she's probably gonna die, but she would rather die than let her girls be killed in the torturing, and because everyone knows kind of what the White Cloaks do. It feels like even out in the middle of nowhere, they know what happens to the White Cloak. Like if you get captured by the White Cloaks and are assumed to be dark friend of some sort, and so I think she knew what she was getting into and was protecting her daughters, and I do like that level of, you know, relief and success that she was able to protect them in that. And so back to Perrin, they're ready to go, and he's like, all right, let's go. And Fael is like, oh, and me, don't forget me. I'm gonna whoosh, whoosh, be super Fael with my fancy like daggers that are like little hooks. They remind me of like raptor claws, and like she does the fancy like things.
Yeah. What's that again? Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amazon, contact me for Foley work, because clearly I got the sound of daggers spinning perfectly. It's great. So she's like, and me. And Perrin's like, no, not you. And then that's when she like pulls out her knives and holds it to Perrin's neck, and she's like, and me. To which Bane and Chiad look at each other and they're like, and her. They say it together, and I'm just like, this is setting up Fael perfectly, and it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And Loyal stays with the horses because stealth is not my strongest suit.
Which is so cute. And then Alana is like, hey, you know what? It's a clear night. I will come and create cover. We'll make this, you know, as safe as possible for the girls. And Maxim is like, how about not? Like, I'm pretty sure the White Cloaks will notice. And Alana's like, no, I'm going to create cover. Are you sure? Yes, I'm creating cover. And okay. And the next scene,
it gets pretty contentious. Then, because Maxim's being overruled. He says we should be making our decisions together.
And they're stalking off to head off to they're separated. So now that Maxim and Alana are alone, Maxim can have his little hissy fit.
Right.
You know, because they used to make decisions together, and they're not doing that. And Alana, you kind of learn her reasons on why she's not trusting Maxim, and it's because we're here because you're not enough. She shouts to him,
which is a hell of a thing to say. It has a context. It has a different context, but the way he hears it at first is, God, that's damaging.
Yeah. And I think, like, yes, we learn later, like, why, because Alana wants to build this army. She says, you know, we do not win battles with politics. We win battles with armies. And she wants to build an army with the blood of Manetheren. But she's saying, I think there's a little part of it that also is, you alone are not enough as my warder, like as my protection, as my lover, as my partner. This is not, you're not enough.
I think that was the words out of her mouth meant that, and she might have covered for it by saying, you know, we're fighting a war here now, and you know, we need an army, damn it. So maybe she's backtracking a little bit on the harshness of what she said, but of course they have a bond too. So Maxim knows what's going on, and of course emotions are completely raw there. But you know, she reminds us that the Green Aja is the Battle Aja. And you know, this is what Alana has trained for. This is what she has worked towards. And, you know, the last battle has been prophesied for centuries now. They knew it was coming. They didn't know when. The dragon is reborn now. That means the last battle is happening in this lifetime. And that means, by God, we got to get ourselves in gear. If you have a mission, that mission becomes important now. And so Alana,
and she even calls out, like, the Black Aja are ready for the last battle, but
we're not.
We're screwed, and we need everything that we can. Even, you know, even farmers, like, it doesn't matter. We need them.
And you know, she makes a great point here, especially if you accept the lore of kind of blood and history and lineage having an important part in who a people are and how it kind of recapitulates over time. Uh, Five people came out of the two rivers who were basically extraordinary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Three or five to Viren, the people who shape the pattern around them just by
By
their movements.
existing.
Yeah, some
Mhm.
of the most powerful channelers ever. The Dragon Reborn himself. Um,
The
so
Hornblower.
yeah, the
Mhm.
Hornblower, and then whatever the hell Perrin
Yeah.
is with his wolves and stuff. But you know, clearly extraordinary people with untapped gifts. Uh, how many more are there in
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
backwater district that nobody's bothered to explore? So she's making a choice. That's why she came here. That's what keeps them there. That was the kind of question earlier that's being answered now. This is a place where there are people, there's untapped potential.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that's what she wants to mold into an army.
Yeah. And Maxim followed her there because, you know, he was a warder. He was her warder. But he says he doesn't care about battles. He only
Mm.
cared about Ivan and Alana. Like, that's it. And she clearly, I mean, she cares, obviously, but like this, she's in charge. This is her choice. This is what's going on. This is what she's going to do. And he says, if you want to throw your life away, like you threw away Ivan's,
Yeah.
and that, like, again,
As harsh as her words to
so
him.
Mhm.
harsh. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
they,
Mhm.
you know, the meanest fights that cut the deepest are the ones from people that love each other so much and
absolutely.
Mhm.
have years of experience and knowledge of each other, and clearly that's what's happening. And again, with these
Mhm.
micro expressions on their faces, Alana is hurt deeply. Maxim wants to go and find Leandrin and kill her. That's the only thing that he cares about, and he wants Alana to come with him. And
That's
instead,
something they can do. That is not a lost cause. Like this is a lost cause.
yes,
This
Mhm.
is something that matters. We can find Leandrin and we can kill her.
yeah. And Alana's answer to that is a kind of a big fu, and she turns off their bond, so there's no connection between them anymore. And so he's free to do whatever he wants, and she's gonna do what she wants, and they're separating in this moment to do what they feel like they have to do. Next is Alana is weaving her magic. We saw this scene in the trailer. It is so epic. You see the creation of this fog. It's very reminiscent of the fog in Ruidian, but a little bit obviously different. And it comes and it helps cover the camp as we see Perrin and Bane, Chiada, and Fail creep in, and we're feeling this the spookiness. We've got, you know, spooky music coming. You're only seeing these shadows in the fog. Perrin sees a wolf head that's stabbed on a stake around a fire, which
Can you jot that down in the notes for a book conversation?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
because it raises a question in my mind, but
yep.
we'll see.
There's this poignant moment. Perrin is seeing the wolf head. Uh, who's minding the fire is my question. Like, I feel like there should be somebody, you know, at least reasonably close to this open flame that's hanging out, but what do I know? I'm not, you know, in a camp of white cloaks. I don't know what. Like, maybe they have enough rocks around the fire to keep it safe, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, that's fine. Valda knows that this fog is not real. I don't know how he knows, other than the fact that, like, it was clear and now it's
Yeah.
not. That's probably
The
like,
Yeah.
weather has changed
yes.
all of a sudden.
And
I've
the
killed
day
enough
before our
witches to know.
the day before our reinforcements come, this is probably like, let's get ready, and tells another white cloak, child Bayar, with the worst mustache ever. This is how you know he's a bad guy.
Well, it's a cop stash. He's a cop.
Yes. No, that's true. I was thinking more of a porn stash, but you're right. It is a cop. They
stash. Are the same. Yeah. But yeah.
And basically, it's time to go catch a real channeler. Like, let's give you practice to catch a real witch, because we know that it's not, we know there's somebody out there doing this. You see the two Cawthon girls in the cage in the tent, and then Bane and Chiad slip in their sneaky Aiel way. I love, so obviously in the Waste we see a lot more Aiel, and you see their movements and how they're guarding and adjusting and walking and running and all of this. But this scene in particular, with them coming into the tent, really solidified like the movement of the Aiel. You saw it a little bit like as they're running in front of Aiel on the horse, but this moment of just like stealthiness, like sneakiness, it felt almost like nothing moved as they came in before Perrin comes in, and it just was like so well done. I loved it so much. Just a little bit. And then Perrin comes in, and they're so excited to see Perrin, and they ask if Matt is with them, and Perrin's like, no, he's not, but don't worry, he's safe.
And also, what happened to your eyes?
Yeah.
So Perrin's eyes have shifted to the wolf, wolf gold.
Well, and they've stayed the wolf gold. We've seen that all season. So, and of course they haven't seen him since he got back. And so I love that. That's kind of like the first thing they say. Not, oh, hey, we're going to escape. We're free. It was, what's wrong with your eyes? Which felt like a very childlike, way.
Yeah.
And Perrin, opens and unlocks the cage, and the Aiel, I don't know if it's Bane or Chiad, I don't remember, starts to reach for them to help them out, and they're like, super scared, and Perrin's like, no, it's safe, we're gonna take you, and I love that there's that bit of, again, we're layering these little bits of trauma to this. Like, they hear somebody that they don't trust who wants to touch them. It's so minor, and yet it's in these details that show the realism, I think, and an accuracy of like this type of situation that keeps it grounded. And that and Perrin says, okay, these Aiel, they're gonna take you to safety, and we're gonna go find your mom. Which Perrin does.
Yeah, I just want to mention beforehand, there is kind of a strange echo here, right, of one of the scenes in the history of the Aiel in the last episode, where they go into the bandit camp to save the two girls there. And at first it was Aiel who were still with the Way of the Leaf until it was abandoned in order to save these. Now it's a different sort of Aiel altogether who've come in to rescue, and they're much better at it, obviously.
Yeah. Still not using a sword, but much better at it. And I think it's interesting too that we don't see them again in this scene at all. Like, they're not doing any fighting. They have their job. They are taking the kids, and that level of trust that's there, but also like, could they, like, it would be easy enough for them to say, hey, no, we want to fight. Like, we'll stay, we're better fighters. We'll stay, and we'll, if something happens, we'll be able to, fight and take them down. But they took the honor of, let's get the kids safe home. Yeah. With the knowledge that if something happens, we can keep them safe. Like, we can keep these children protected. And there's that level of, care in children. That's really special.
And I have to believe that was deliberate, being, right after the other episode where it was kind of a botched a botched rescue attempt
Yeah.
that turned to violence. That now you're strong enough to actually be able to execute a rescue.
Yes. With no violence,
Right,
allegedly.
right. So
Possibly.
training in violence actually does allow you to avoid the
Yeah.
violence as well. In a strange irony there.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
really
just
weird.
love that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
It was a nice moment.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. But
But then they find,
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
they thankfully the girls are spirited away by
Yes.
the Aiel. They don't see this, but Fael and Perrin do find Natty, and she is dead. She's tied to a stake where she's been burned, tortured, and this is the truth about White Cloaks. This is their brutality and their just sheer nastiness. And uh, Perrin takes a beat to take that in. We'll revisit him, but first we cut to Child Bayar and the White Cloak soldiers, who are now armed with crossbows. They are just pin cushioning her with crossbow bolts. So
Yeah.
sure enough, Maxim was right. They're going to recognize this and they are going to strike. They know what they're doing when fighting channelers.
Staying away, spread in a circle, so she can't do a whole lot, and she's alone.
Yeah. And she's doing what she can. She's a formidable opponent, but there are a lot of them, and they are just crossbow bolt after crossbow bolt. And again, this is another thing where God, the women of this world can take a lot of damage.
Yeah. Listen, you give birth and you know what you can take.
So you can take being stabbed 11 times with a gray man's dagger. A dozen crossbow bolts. It's like what's his name from Lord of the Rings and Fellowship of the Rings. Boromir, taking arrow after arrow and still dishing it out.
Yep.
But and then we cut back to Perrin where
Dane shows up.
Yeah.
Two
Dane
Rivers,
is confronting him.
you came.
Yeah.
It was he's clearly still drunk.
Yeah.
Clearly still angry. And Perrin is even more angry. Because
naturally
here is, it's his fault that Natty was murdered the way that she was. And he's like, I thought you were a good man, to which Dane replies, I was before you.
Classic abuser stuff,
so
right?
Classic.
You made me do this.
Yep. Yeah, you're the fact that you killed my dad forced me to come here, and I killed that woman. I'm willing to kill more. I was gonna, kill these little girls. Like, I stole these little girls. Like, all of these things. They fight. Clearly, Perrin is completely done with the Way of the Leaf. And it's just like, dude, no, we're going. And so they fight, rolling around on the ground. Dane stabs Perrin. But before that, Fael does her little dagger thing and helps take out two other White Cloaks before saving Perrin with her magic daggers, her raptor claws.
Yeah. She didn't kill Dane, did she? I missed that.
I don't think so.
I don't.
I think he's still alive.
He's probably still alive. Yeah.
But she does disable him and get him off Perrin.
Yeah, she takes care of him.
Yeah.
And
then we cut back to Alana, who's being pincushioned, and she's got a savior. It's Maxim. He's returned, and she goes, "How did you know? You turned the bond back on about 5 arrows ago."
So good. I loved that. I love that he came back for her. I love that, even in the anger that they have for each other right now, she's relieved to see him. He's, glad that he came back to protect her, to save her. And I think not just because he would be in a lot of pain if she died.
Yeah.
And probably would die too.
Yeah.
I mean, you say a lot of hurtful things, but when you're fighting together, but if there is an enemy from without attacking you, you are united.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what this relationship is about.
Yeah. Just like siblings,
totally.
hey, I'm the only one that can make fun of my brother. You
Right.
can't. That's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. Yeah. You can't do this. If you do this, I'm taking you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that concludes the Two Rivers sequence.
Yes.
So now we have 2 left. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the White Tower, or do you want to go to the
White
West?
Tower.
Okay.
We're gonna go to the White Tower, where Swan is sitting reading a note in her study and does kind of a weird sniffing it.
Is it Moraine sending
It's
a
gotta be
perfumed
Moraine.
note?
Yeah, it's gotta be Moraine. Because Swan looks so guilty when after she sniffs it and puts it into her box of safety, and then Elida comes strolling in. She finally has her private audience, to which Swan says, the heavy scent of roses enters the room before you do. And there's just this little dig. Clearly they have history together, and they do not like each other.
And Elida is blunt, and she goes on the attack immediately. She's looking around, and she goes, this is the most powerful room in the world, and you've decided to,
this is the most sacred chamber in the most hallowed institution in the world.
Yes, and you've decorated it like a fisherwoman's hut. And she goes further than that, right? What does she say? You may have fooled everyone else, but I know what you are. Which was what was it?
A little bit later.
That's okay.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah.
At
any rate, there is no pretense here anymore.
Nope.
They are enemies, and really, when we have seen every episode since Elida's appearance, it seems she's made a gain in ground.
Yeah.
Obstacles were thrown up in front of her. Oh, you can't have a private audience. But
want to bet? I'm a sitter now.
I will become a sitter. I will. There are going to be some maneuverings against me. You're going to send your spy against me. I'm going to recognize that spy, and I'm going to use her myself.
Yep.
So Elida is a force to be reckoned with, and that's good. She should be.
Yeah. And Swan is like, I'm assuming you're gonna want to. You're here. You've done all of this to get a private audience with me, not just to discuss my sense of style, and she puts in another dig of not everyone wants to be sick by the scent of roses. And Elida reveals her purpose, basically her main thing of I'm here, where is Elaine? And we know from the last episode that the royal house of Andor is going to be important, and that is what Elida is going to try and do, find out where her royal house of Andor is, because where's Elaine? And Swan is like, Elaine's on a journey.
Yeah,
it's cool, but don't worry. I told Morghese. I told her mom. You didn't need to know, because you're nobody. You're not important in this situation. But I told her mom. I told the queen. It's all fine.
Yeah, but that's bold as brass, right? Because when they parted, it was, if I hear that you haven't kept my daughter safe, I'm coming back with an army.
Yeah.
So there is a sword over Swan's head, and it's not only from Elida here.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, Elaine's not there. Elaine's not being guarded like the daughter era ought to be.
Yes.
So, and I don't even know if Swan was informed that they were going off to Tenchiko.
Oh, I'm
No,
sure
because they said they couldn't even. So they said they couldn't even trust her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet they didn't tell her that they were going to Tenchiko.
Yeah. So Swan doesn't even know.
But I think
sure.
I think they probably told her that they were leaving at least because they need like I know one of the things I like about Robert Jordan's writing is that there's a lot of discussion of like funds and like money. You know, there's so many things points that I can think of like how much this costs or we only have this much, et cetera, et cetera. Which again adds to that truthfulness and that whatnot. And so I wonder if like there's this level of they needed to tell Swan that they were leaving. So A, they could leave.
Yeah.
And B, they could have funds to
afford a ship, for example.
To go where they need to go, travel money, and like kind of cover all of their things because I doubt Elaine has access to her queen, her daughter.
That would raise more dangerous questions if it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good assumption, but it's not something that she could explain, Swan could explain easily to Queen Morghese.
Yep.
Yeah. I think she's between a rock and a hard place right now. Their names, Morghese and Elaida.
Yeah. And that hard place is going to dig in a little bit more because Elaida is like, hey, I am seeing your net coming apart, and so does everybody else. Now that I'm a sitter, I'm going to call a vote in the hall to cage the dragon reborn, which is obviously something that you should have done already. And you're gonna pay for it.
And Swan seems cavalier about that. She doesn't think Elaida has the power or the votes or anything like that. And I feel like she is misjudging the politics of the situation so badly.
Yeah. And Lyanna keeps trying to tell her, and she keeps brushing away her concerns, which is sad.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yep. And Elaida comes in with, even though Swan's like, hey, I still don't think you have this power. Like last time I beat you, I'm going to beat you this time. Until Elaida is like, no, I know that you and Maureen are probably still lovers. We know, like, I know how you were when you were novices and you were like gaga over her. All of these things, but like people don't change. Swan, you are still river trash, same as the day you walked into the tower barefoot and hungry. And like, sad.
And mentioning Maureen specifically because Maureen isn't there to support her.
Exactly.
So, probably Maureen, especially being Kyrianan, is more politically savvy than Swan ever was. Swan was a fisherman's daughter.
Rat.
Yeah, river trash, as Elaida said, wasn't a noble woman used to court intrigue.
In this.
Yeah. Maureen was all that, and she's not there.
Yep.
And, that doubly stings because they were lovers. And they were, the deepest allies, even if they kept it a secret. But it's almost like your better half isn't here to protect you now.
Yeah. And Swan's reply to this is basically like, anything else, daughter? Like Mirlin's day is a full one. Basically, like I don't have a way to answer this in the form that will like benefit me. So I'm just gonna tell you to like leave.
And it feels weak. It's a dismissal, which she has the right to do. But she has not gained any ground here. Nope. She's not made any digs or landed any blows. Elaida's in control of the situation as far as the scene goes.
Definitely. And the next scene, we see Varen taking care of her sister, Adelaise, serving her tea. Adelaise wants to make sure that it's not too hot. It's very sweet, like the protection. They're siblings. They've known each other for a very long time because they're like Aes Sedai live for a very long time, and they have gray hair. Like they look Like
which
they have
implies they're
aged,
probably
which
centuries
implies,
old.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so they've been siblings. They've been sisters for a very long time. Swan and Leone come in, and Varen, settles her sister and is like, okay, so here's what I found out. Leandra, like, all about the Black Asha hearts. Leandrin managed to connect 4 of these hearts, which means there's 12 sisters. We know of 11. There's one more somewhere. I don't know who it is, but like we need to figure out. And Swan is basically like, I bet it's Elida. It's got to be Elida. Like, let's get her. I don't like her. Like, let's get her. Yeah. And Varen is like, we cannot mistake suspicion for certainty.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's, God, it feels like she is grasping at reeds here,
yes.
like she is trying to, any weapon she can use against Elida, she's trying to do. So, she must be Black Asha. That's the way we can take her down.
Yeah, let's get her to lie or break one of the 3 oaths, and then we know that it's proof.
And even Varen says that's a long game.
Yeah,
like, you're not going to get your proof that quickly.
It's not going to be fast enough, yes. But Leone suggests setting a trap using the 2 Black Asha that they have captured. And Swan and Varen are like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, they're held in the 13th depository. Let's use this. We can, we can show either she's going to protect them or shut them up. Like,
free them or kill them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Swan finishes this with, bring me the truth so I can take Elida's head. She's clearly over it.
Mm-hmm.
This bitch going down.
Or at least trying.
Yeah. Gonna do her best. And so it's however long from now, from the previous scene. And we have Elida and Alviarin talking in the hallway.
More whispering conversations. And
this time between also again between Ajas. Elida's red, Alviarin is white, and she knows that is like, hey, I know Elida is talking to Alviarin like, hey, I know you've sided with the Amirlan in the past, and I'm just kind of like feeling you out. How are you feeling? What are the vibes? What
she's also saying, hey, the logical thing, because White Edge are all about logic,
yes.
right? So, I can lay out a logical case why she should not be on the line anymore.
Yes.
She's being listened to now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the truth guides us is kind of what she says. And so she's gonna believe it. And Elida turns and sees Adelaide walking down the hallway with an accepted, and is like, aha, she's out. She's, free of the room. Let's find out what Varen is doing. Because this is how something, like, I can know I can manipulate this situation because I've known Adelaide for a while. So maybe I can come in here as a sister. And even though Adelaide is not fully functioning in her brain, I can make her work. And Adelaide manages to let it slip that, because Elida is like, where's Varen? Where is your sister? Oh my gosh, you're looking
I need to
great.
help her. Yeah.
I need to help. Like, I'm here. I'm just going to help. Mm-hmm. We see Varen and Leone in Varen's rooms. Varen is chill. Leone standing like the badass that she is, like ready and watching and be like, do you think that she can do it? And Varen is like, oh yeah, I have full faith. Like, this, it's going to be fine. Don't even worry.
My sister can do this.
Yeah.
So it is, Adelaide is part of the trap.
Yes.
She's going to spill the beans about the bait. And this is the trap where they're going to see whether Elida is Black Asha or not.
Yes. And we're going to, like, okay. Like, this is Elida's calming down, like, is managing to connect with Adelaide and is like, she needs my help. Where does she go? And Adelaide says 13, and Elida's like, at the 13th depository? Yeah. What does she want me to look at? Black Aja. And then Elida puts her hand over Adelaide's mouth and just like, shh. And Adelaide puts her hand over Elida's mouth and like, yeah, we're going to be quiet. And I thought that was so cute. So sweet. Obviously, sweet is the wrong word for this, but like that human connection again.
Yeah, the act was very sweet.
Yes,
certainly.
yes, and having that written in the script too, I think is really special.
Yeah. It's like, yes, we're sharing a secret. This is a secret we've both got to keep.
Yep.
But that does lure Elida then to the 13th depository.
Yeah, and
where
Joya and Amiko are sitting, and Joya's like, aha, they're back. But it's not who they're expecting as Elida comes in. And it's like, hey, you need to tell me who the Black Asha is. And Amiko says, we will never betray our sisters, no matter how many times you ask. And Elida's like, okay, cool. And then just kills her. And Joya's like, oh, shit. This is not good. Because Elida is not as calm or like chill, I think, as the other Aes Sedai that were manipulating the situation. And she's holding her up and like, hey, this is not a negotiation. You're not going to leave this cell alive, but like how much pain you have is going to depend on how many people you know. Like, who do you know? And Joya's like, okay, I know one other, but then a gray man comes and kills Joya. So that's not going to happen.
And then stabs Elida multiple times. Lots of stab.
Lots of stab.
But don't worry.
One stab. Okay, look, if you get stabbed once, you're not going to die. Or you are going to die.
You are going to die.
If you stab once, you are going to die. But multiple times, you're fine. So really,
that's right.
All you have to do in this world to make sure that you're not going to die is just get stabbed several times, and you'll be fine.
Because each further stab negates the previous stab, and you gotta stab her again.
Yeah, that must be it. Yeah.
It's a different sort of physics.
Yes. Listen, it's a fantasy world. It can be whatever you want. But either way, Swan and Leone like come in, and Leone like pushes the gray man by murder. Like murder kills the gray man, not murder. It's not murder if it's self-defense. I don't know. Either way, Shadow
it's
Swan.
It's not murder if it's already dead.
And Swan drops down to heal Elida, and they're like, okay, so I guess Elida's not Black Aja. Boo. And Elida,
right, darn.
Yeah, and Elida says, okay, I know I was being baited. And Swan's like, yeah, maybe I misjudged you. And so the battle.
Oh, Swan.
The White Tower battle for the White Tower is kind of ruined a little bit just because we don't know. Like, Elida's fallen apart. Swan is falling apart. Elida is kind of like just got stabbed multiple times and is like, great. My enemy like saved me, but I don't have any honor, so it's fine. Like, I'm just not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's like just because she's not Black Aja doesn't mean she's your friend.
Yes.
Or you can trust her.
Yes.
And Swan doesn't realize that, which is tragic.
Yes. Yeah. But that is the White Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now for our final traveling location for this episode, let's head to the Waste, where all of our Aiel and other our wetlander friends are walking along away from Ruidian. They're heading home basically because they're traveling home.
I mean, so let's remember what just happened. At the end of last episode, Rand is now unequivocally the Karakarn. He is marked on both arms. The Aiel must follow him, and it just remains now to basically announce him. It remains to communicate this. And the Dreamwalkers are, of course, doing their thing, but they all want to meet him in person, of course, because you gotta verify this. You gotta see
and plus, the wise ones are only talking to other wise ones.
Yes.
They don't know what the other clan chiefs and the other Aiel are saying or thinking or whatnot. They only know, what they're hearing from each other, and so like this is,
and they know that the reactions are going to be different for everyone. So Rand has work to do now. Just because he's been marked doesn't mean the job is over here.
And it's even more blatant and obvious that there's a lot of work to do because Avienda is just like, it's no wonder that the Shido rejected Rand. He's clearly not Aiel. And the wise ones are like, yeah, and whose fault is that? To which Avienda says, I cannot teach someone who will not learn. And Moraine is like, cannot? Excuse me? What? And Moraine basically is just like, okay, well, you know what? This is your job. You need to teach Rand what's going on day and night. He is
From when he wakes to when he goes to his blanket, you're sticking to him like glue.
He's the Katakar, and there's no fighting it. Like, this is your job.
This represents a big status change for Avienda, right? Yeah. So she was called on, back before Rand went to Ruidian, to say, you are now a Wise One apprentice, and you must go through the rings, which you did. But now you are our apprentice. You answer to us.
Yep. We're going to tell you what to do. Yeah. And she's wearing, the Wise One apprentice outfit, and something that we'll see Egwene wearing too in the future of this episode. They turn around a corner and some Aiel are standing up in the rocks, and we see cold rocks hold. And Rhuarc is like, this is where we're going to wait. This is for the other chiefs to assemble in Alcaerdal, something like that. And so let's wait here, let them all assemble, and then we will go to them. But it's a moment of relief in this because there's so much joy in this bit. The hold is basically dug out of rocks. There's like full roads, streets, buildings, houses.
It's a town.
It's a full town, just carved out of the rocks and built in the rocks, or however it is. And Rhuarc formally greets the roof mistress and asks for leave to enter the hold. To which she says, "You will always have my leave, shade of my heart." And it's very sweet. I love the connection. This is Rhuarc's other wife. And Bayer and Leon.
Whoops. What was her name?
Leanne? No, it's not Leanne. Yeah. It wasn't Leanne. You wrote Lean, and I was like, when I heard it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And now I can't remember how to pronounce it.
I don't remember it now.
Yeah.
We're terrible. I'm so sorry. But either way, this is, his wife. And Bayer also kisses her welcome. And here's this connection of polyamory spreading throughout, a different style of polyamory over, versus, Alana and her two warders. These two are in love as well. And then this little bundle of red hair comes running to leap into Rhuarc's arms, and it's his granddaughter, Alsair, and she looks over and is like, oh, and then jumps down and is like, are you the Karakar? And grandmother says you are. And he goes, I am, and then smiles and rah, bares his teeth, and they run away laughing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet. I love this part.
So Rand is good with kids.
Rand is very good with kids, and he's able to find some of this release in the stress of everything that just happened in Ruidian, which is nice to see. And Bayer watches Egwene watching Rand, and is like, it's time to stop watching over Rand. We're gonna go walk in the dream. Will you join us? And they do. Maureen is invited as well.
I just had a little personal memory that granddaughter triggered, which was I way back in high school. I spent a summer in a kind of an exchange program, so a little village in France where nobody spoke any English, and I was staying with a family, and I was working on the language and trying to speak and all that, and I was befriended by this little girl. She was like 5 years old. And I guess she had a speech impediment or something, but she was very much at ease talking with me because I had trouble speaking.
Right.
And so like we were friends and like we could communicate really quickly. And she would sit and I would be writing in my journal and she'd look at where I'd scratched out a word and she'd say foot, mistake. And so, we could bond that way, like while I was like a newcomer into this different culture, different language, everything like that. With a kid, it was easier to bond. And I felt that way how Rand was, that was what Rand was doing. He found an easy way into this culture and someone who could just accept him. And
especially because like, he showed her his dragons and she was just like, whoa. And like, so here's an easy way. Like she clearly believes that he is the Carakarn. Yep. And this is something that he's going to have to do to get the belief and trust from the other clan chiefs. So it's got to be a relief to have somebody already believe.
Yeah. And what was Avienda's main concern back beforehand? That he wouldn't accept the Aiel and he would just use them. He wouldn't see them as his own people.
Yeah.
And here he is, connecting and bonding with a child.
As an individual, like as a human. Right. This is a person that's important.
Yeah.
Because they are, not because of what they can do for me, but because they have connected with me and I'm going to connect back to them.
Yeah. Out of pure kindness and empathy and human to human bonding. So that was a lovely little scene that addresses a lot of the issues that are at play.
Yeah. And other issues are seen at mealtime. Avienda is doing her duty, and she's clearly like super excited to be here in sarcasm font. And there is talking about how the Aiel share lovers commonly, and that monogamy is too much to ask of one person, far too much, and that she pities Egwene for this, to which she's continually like instructing, like, hey, you got to use your right hand, not your left. Use your right hand to eat this food because it's all food that's eaten with hands. They don't have silverware. And she's just like, it's tradition to like talk, like it's you need to speak with people on either your right or your left, other than except for those that are teachers. And then I have to that's not what I get to do. I have to sit here and teach you instead because you're a stupid wetlander.
Yeah, it's all completely passive aggressive.
So passive aggressive.
I am doing what the wise ones told me to do only because the wise ones told me to do it.
Yes.
And I'm going to let everybody around me know that I am here against my will.
Yes.
So
yes.
Not a lot of great teaching going on, but
it's passing
making herself
enough.
heard.
Yeah. And there's enough info in there that you're use your right hand to eat. Like this is something to do. And the cute little kid is like, do you like the squash, Rand al'Thor? To which Rand's face completely changes. Yosha, again, this episode is full of these mini expression changes based on mood, just like flawlessly shown. You know, we've seen a grief episode. Last episode was, you know, a lot of like drama. This episode is all about these micro changes in the acting. And Rand says yes. She says, I grew the squash, Randalthor. And she's so proud of herself, and it's so sweet. And again, you're seeing this connection. We're
seeing Avienda react to it.
Yes. Of like, oh, okay, it's not just me. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
I can't be angry at you about this.
Yes.
So, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to not be angry at you.
But I can't be angry about this. I'll find something else to be angry about.
Right.
Yeah. And then you see Melindra, who's kind of flirty with Lan, of like, oh, would you like a motai? It's delicious. And Lan kind of, it's this gross, like, grub looking thing, to which Lan like takes a bite. And as he's biting down, Melindra's like, not with the head. It's going to bite your throat all the way down. And you see it happen. Because clearly it's still alive, and it's got its little rah thing. And it's gonna go all the way down. To which Lan replies, delicious. And Maureen kind of is like, and Melindra offers her grub. To which she's like, no, and leaves. But Lan starts to leave too, and Maureen says, no, like, you can stay. And presumably at this point, she's done with the flirting. She can't I don't think it's because of jealousy so much as a little bit of sadness. That Lan,
her own loss.
Yeah, loss is a good word to put. You know, she misses her lover. She misses Swan. She misses the joy that they had, and this connection that she doesn't have with anybody, and is sad and can't really see that happen. And then we go, and the Wise Ones, I'm hoping that Egwene and the Wise Ones ate beforehand, but probably not. You know, it's going to take a lot of energy to do this, but the Wise Ones are going to teach Egwene the dream walking, and are just telling her that she should enter Tel'aran'rhiod road. Only with permission. Then we're getting some beautiful exposition again here. Like, hey, anyone can touch it, but not many can enter it. And that dreamwalking has nothing to do with the one power. Melaine cannot channel, but dreamwalks as well as Bayer can. And we're learning, you know, real, like, death. If you die in the dream, you die in real life. And let's go together. We're going to have a brass pin in this candle, which I think is a really cool way to do it. And that will wake you after a set amount of time. So you don't need to worry about, like, not being woken up. Like, here's a safety precaution, basically. And she lays down, and the Wise Ones close their eyes, sitting upright. And it kind of does a flash, like a sparkle flash, like quick cut thing. And it looks like the same room, except for the lighting is changed. It's definitely like blurry on the edges, a little bit brighter, but it's the same location. We're seeing, you know, the same room, but in the dream world. And Egwene is like, oh, it's the same. And the Wise Ones are like, no, there are things here that could shatter the heart, things that could eat the heart. It's not safe. And, you know, let's be careful. And
they are trying to make Egwene afraid.
Yes.
Because then we see the reaction.
Yes. Egwene ends up wearing this beautiful armor dress thing. I have to think that Sharon, the costume director, designer had so much fun creating this costume. Like, it is stunning in all of these details of like, how would you make a fantastic armor dress? In the books, it's like chainmail plate armor that's a dress. I think Nynaeve wears at one point. I like this version a lot better than what I was thinking it would look like. It's very cool, very unique. And Bayer says, you have to control your thoughts. Like this, you can change anything. You have the power. Like, further on, if you want to be somewhere else, simply believe you're somewhere else. Like, that's it. That's all. Whatever you want to wear, believe in it, you're there. Wherever you want to be, believe it, you're there. Like, these very basic rules and the power of it. The woman that is hunting you, Egwene, can enter your dreams, but you have the power to kick that woman out and go elsewhere. Like, if you believe it, you can do it. And so she does. She transports herself to Tar Valon, where we've got all sorts of like ghostly images. You're seeing dreamers. We've got the creepy music. I think also the fact that
creepy doll,
like shaking. We've got the fact that this was filmed like day for night, where they film it and they light it and then they color grade it so that it looks like night. Also adds to that like creepy factor. Cart gets knocked over. And it makes a loud noise. I do wish, so in the books, one of the things with the dream world is things that are not permanent tend to move. Or you can kind of see how, like, the resonance of objects in the real world versus the dream world. Like, if the objects move around or don't have a permanence in where they live or what they do, they move a lot in the dream world, which kind of makes sense because the dream world is kind of, this mirror world of like what the real thing is. I do wish like the cart had been knocked over and made this loud noise and then snap, it was back where it was supposed to be. Like, I wish that they had done that to kind of have this tie into the books. It would have been really easy to do, but and I'm not in charge. It's fine. It's great. Again, so minor, just like last episode. Like, there's not a whole lot that I have like, critiques, I guess, or like comments on. But this was one of the things.
Yeah, it felt like the vibe that they were going for was really kind of creepy, ghostly stuff in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they were trying to ratchet up the uncanniness of it. So it's not so much that there are that these are the rules of Tel'aran'rhiod, permanence versus impermanence. It's like, oh, there are strange motions going around me. I can see people in the corners of my eyes. Something invisible overturns the cart. I'm looking at things, So there's sort of this tension that's building up about this until finally we do see kind of a solid figure.
Yeah. Who's not the misty body.
Right.
On the steps, which, by the way, that's the entryway that I came in on the set of Tar Valon. So that's
cool. That's awesome.
But it's Lanfear who does a quick zoom, like a zoom, dream world traveling thing, and confronts Egwene and force chokes her. I like how you put that.
It's like Darth Vader, levitating a guy and choking him remotely.
As she says,
that's what she's doing to Egwene.
So glad you're here, in that creepy, super Lanfear voice. And then we hear the brass pin has fallen. It's loud enough. It kind of shatters the dream, and it flashes through a bunch of different things that she's seen. And she sits up in the Wise One's tent, or in the Wise One's room, and is like, okay, you are being pursued by one of the Shadow Soul. Like, here's this proof. There's bruising on her neck. She's having a hard time breathing. Like, clearly this is not real. But also, why the heck did you go to Tarvalon? Like, why did you travel here? And then how did you get out? Because, like, how did this happen? And she's like, well, I just thought myself out of there, and I was. And they got really worried because she's trying things that I'm guessing other apprentices haven't done. And it's not a good thing, because there's not that level of, she doesn't know enough. She knows just enough to be dangerous, and not enough to really like be able to do things.
Yeah. And the game has changed. There are Forsaken running around in the dream world, and they are hunting her. So, now it's not a safe place to train. It is, this is beyond even what the wise ones can probably prepare for. Although, everything that they said is true. If it's in your dream, you still have a measure of control. You just can't, you have to have the mental discipline to use it.
Yes.
And, if you're being confronted by essentially, the Dukes of Hell, devils out of mythology, you might not have that mental control right away.
Yeah.
So Egwene's got to be really strong in mind and body with this.
Yep. And the next scene, we see Lan and Melindra are doing their flirty thing. And Lan is ashamed that he does not remember Malkier. And she's like, dude, you were a baby. Like, what are you talking about? But let me tell you about what Malkier was like, because I was...
So she's considerably older.
So yeah, it has to be. Enough to remember the festivals and the music and the poetry and the dancing. Loved the dancing. And Lan asks, what do you miss most of all? And she's like, I miss the laughter. I miss the laughter most of all. And it's a poignant moment. It's they're connecting together. And speaking of connecting, Egwene is moving out of Rand's room. She needs to move in with the wise ones, which makes sense. They can help protect her while she's sleeping and dreaming and all of that. And Rand, even though he doesn't like it, understands it and accepts it and kisses her goodbye. And they have this really sweet moment of goodbyes. And more goodbyes. Maureen is sitting on the edge, kind of looking at the vastness of the waste and holding the Sakarnan. And at this point, I think she's ready to tell Lan kind of what she saw in the rings. And the biggest thing is, like, I'm not going to be at the last battle. This is not, like, in every future where I live, Rand dies. And the only way he lives is if I don't. And that this is, she didn't want to tell Lan this. That's why, it took so long, because, like, but I need to not be there. I can only take them so far, because if I'm not there, there's a chance that he'll win. But if I am there, everything we do and have done will be for nothing.
And there's a sense of futility that she has even about that truth. The fact that she won't be at the last battle, she thinks that itself means everything I've done is for nothing.
Yeah.
Because she won't be there. So what was it all about? I've just learned this truth about my mission, and really it was a lie.
Yeah.
And I liked how this is invoking Elida and Min's conversation about what it means to know the future. So, knowing the future can bring this enormous sense of despair if you feel like everything is fated and I have no control over it. But there's also this opening, and Lan inserts that really delicately. Says, "Do you know that you die tonight? And she knows that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know if it's tonight. And, the implication is I don't know if it's tomorrow either. I don't know if it's a year from now. So you have time to have a drink with an old friend.
Yes.
And it's usquai, whiskey, basically. And
Not tequila?
no, I think like the the original like Scots Gaelic word for whiskey was UIS something, which seems to be where Jordan derived
Gotcha.
usquai. But yeah, it would make sense that you'd get something from agave or some kind
Yeah,
of cactus
I
succulent.
always thought it was tequila based on,
Yeah.
the location of where they're at, but I guess, the
I
internet
mean,
says that
honestly,
it's
you're
brown.
probably right, but
Well, the
yeah,
internet says it's brown and it's stronger than brandy, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
always pictured it tequila.
it is a strong liquor. That's
Either
what
way,
we know.
yeah. Maureen,
And
who
we see
has
that
been
from their
yeah.
reactions as they drink.
Maureen has, been drinking since she was a child, because Kyrie, lots of parties and stuff, and she takes a drink and starts choking, and then they start laughing, and this is kind of the connection to the Valkyrie laughter that Melindra was talking about. Lan is with Maureen, not with Melindra right now, and still manages to get her to laugh. And then they take some more drinks.
And again, they've moved past the sort of fatalism that comes with the future, and it's that you know if you're not going to die now, then live
Right.
until you can't.
Yes.
And there's this kind of Albert Camus essay where he talks about you could commit suicide or you could have a cup of coffee. Yeah. And there's obviously more to it, but the idea is that change your circumstances and see what will happen.
Yeah.
There's one decision that's final and there's one decision that keeps you going. So
Yeah.
why not try that?
Yep. So speaking of the dream world, Rand is dreaming, and is on the mountaintop that he and Egwene were at back in the Two Rivers. And Lanfear has been watching him and knows where he is and finds him and joins him. And Rand is doing his brooding grumpiness of like, blah, blah, blah. What is fate? Yada, yada, yada. This is a very
Again,
popular
the
thing in
future.
books. Yeah,
Doom.
it's all about the future. Doom.
It's written.
Like,
What
I
can
know
I
the
do?
past now. Like, whatever. And Lanfear's like, the pattern is woven, Rand. Who do you think weaves it, if not us? And
I mean, it's the same conversation
Yep.
that's happening among so many people here.
Yeah. And I love, Rand is like, hey, let me talk to you, Lanfear. I saw you as Mirren before you swore your oaths to the Dark One. Like, I saw this, and Lanfear's like, I'm not that person anymore. And Rand is like, no, I see that in you.
And by the way, did you recognize me?
Yeah. Hey.
I was that guy looking out of the window you told to go down.
Right?
Yeah.
The day of that you broke the world. Yeah, that was me. And Lanfear's like, hey, I want you. I love you. The dark parts and the light. Like, this is not just like you are seeing the good in me. You're seeing the light in me. I don't think I'm that person anymore, but because of that, I am going to connect and be like, hey, I see this in you as well. And then they kiss and have this moment together on that mountaintop.
How did you react to this? Because this was the moment where I felt like she was starting to lay it on thick. I didn't, and maybe it was just the way, we'd just seen her attack Egwene, and we know how nasty she is now. But at this point, I felt like there was less sincerity in what she was saying and more calculation. Did you get that impression?
It definitely felt more manipulative, because she, distracted him from the conversation of Rand talking about how, I see that you're still this person that you used to be, this person before the Dark One, before you swore these oaths. I see this person, and she basically is like, no, we're going to talk about you. Like, we're going to talk about like how dark you are. Like, let's talk about how, yes, I see your light too, but let's talk about your darkness. Like, I know that is definitely what you're like rattling with. So like, let's discuss this. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to distract you by kissing.
Then they break out into the seal song. You remain the light on the dark side.
I think Rand's trying to justify her goodness. He's trying to think like, oh, I'm not a bad guy for loving her because there's some good in her. So he's trying to convince himself, I think. So he doesn't feel so bad about it.
Yeah, especially too because Egwene has left the room that they were staying in together, and so here's this separation between them, this added division of like, I don't know what we're gonna be in the future, and it's probably not gonna be what either of us want, but either way, like I need this space, and so Rand is definitely like trying to find okay, well, if I can't have Egwene, like let me have a Forsaken. Let me have Lanfear instead.
Well, and not to be cold about it, but tactically, trying to sway one of the strongest of your enemies, lieutenants, to you to redeem them is a good idea.
Yeah,
it's good to have an ally.
Yeah, I don't know if he's calculated enough yet to.
Yeah,
to think
I
that
don't
way.
think he's doing it cynically, but I think that he wants to believe that. I think Rand is fundamentally a good boy who believes in good people.
Yeah,
and that's as much as Lanfear is trying to pull him towards. You have a darkness in you, and it's okay. I love it. He's flipping that on her, and it's very Wheel of Time thematic, certainly, the yin yang. But
yeah.
All right.
And now for this last scene for the episode, Moraine joins Egwene and is like, "Hey, you learned how to enter the dream, so I want you to teach me, because I have to deliver a very important message. It's something that I saw in Ruidian. It's definitely worth the risk. I don't care what you promised. Like, you're the only one that's going to be willing to help me." And Egwene is talking about how dangerous it is. And Maureen says, "Funny, isn't it? You warning me about the dangers of dreams when so many years ago I warned you." Which is kind of, I think, is the little bit that Egwene is like, "Oh, okay. Like, yeah, I owe you this level of training." And here's confirmation that it's been at least a couple years since they left the Two Rivers. And they go dream walking. Somehow Egwene is able to not just enter the dream world so quickly, but also take someone else who's not a dream walker. And they can then also find Swan. And Swan's in the Tyrian love shack, hanging out. And Moraine is here to be like, "I have a very important message for you."
Wouldn't it have been awkward if there was a dream Moraine there too?
Right? Like, I thought, yeah.
Unless... Really? That's what you want to do? Okay.
Unless it's something like the way that the dream world works is you can't have multiple existences of the same person.
So let's talk about that in the book, because that does happen.
Yep.
But anyway, that doesn't happen here. Nope. They're able to come in and talk to each other. And Moraine says, "Look, I don't have a lot of time. I need to tell you two truths. I know two things. And
I have seen 1,000 futures and know two things to be true."
Yeah. If the White Tower does not bend the knee to Rand al'Thor, he will lose the last battle.
Okay,
What's
bye. That's
number
all.
two?
That's all.
What's number
That's all.
two,
Okay,
Maureen?
bye.
Oh, never. Did I say two? Never mind.
Just
I have one
kidding.
thing
The second
to
one is
tell
I
you.
love you, but I can't say it. I'm gonna peace out. Yeah.
Now, that's interesting. Do you think it was that, or I got the impression that she was holding back that she knows she's going to
To
die.
die. Yeah.
No.
That's oh, you don't think that? No, I think that's
No.
I think that was the second one that she was gonna do, and she chickened out.
No, it was I've loved you in every single life.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
Which she does end up saying at the end of the sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But she didn't. Like, she wasn't lovers with, like, she had other lovers too in those lives.
But we've been talking about polyamory so much.
I know, which is totally valid and acceptable. But like, I think Rajiv, I agree with you. I think she was going to tell Swan that she was going to die, and this is because this is kind of her way to say goodbye. Like, this is the opportunity to say goodbye to the person that she loves. And
even now they're going to start bickering because Maureen says, "Hey, it was your job to prepare the tower to follow the Dragon Reborn, and let's remember what she did. She put him in a cell, on his knees, bound him, and shielded him. So she was doing what the rest of the tower wanted, which is to cage the Dragon Reborn. No, he has to be. The tower was supposed to follow him, which makes sense if you're going to have the dragon fight the Dark One and the tower is backing him, then you want them to be aligned.
And Swan mentions that she wishes that Maureen had been the one to stay at the tower because she's strong, clever, ruthless, and wouldn't lose herself to the seat. But Maureen is like, no, I make enemies too easily, and I never would have won in the first place.
Yeah, and this to me, Swan is reacting directly to Eleda's digs.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. Without a doubt.
You aren't political enough to really have done anything. This is why you're failing and losing your grasp. Maureen isn't here to help you.
Yeah.
And that's like, Eleda was right, man.
Yep.
So Eleda's really gotten under her skin.
Yeah.
It's she's unraveling, and Maureen doesn't see it yet.
No.
She's adding her digs, I think, which is tragic.
Yeah. And Swan is, I wish we had never gone to guitarist study that day. Grabbed 2 horses and ridden off to, live in a hut and just, be together. That's exactly what I want. I wish we could have had.
And that's an echo of their conversation earlier in the previous seasons, right? Yeah. So, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Wish that these times did not happen during my time. Whatever the Frodo and Gandalf conversation. But it's happening to you now. So
and even Lan and Nynaeve with "Were we happy?" in the arches. Like, yes, but no. So they could have done that. They could have enjoyed their time, but they would have known that they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Yep, exactly. Sure. And then Maureen won't let Swan kiss her. We broke what we had. It can't be mended in this life. And Swan is like, well, maybe we can mend it in the next one. To which Maureen says, I'll wait for you every time. And
see, exactly. That was what she's going to say.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Come on, Rafe. Tell us the truth. Tell us that. Tell us what the second thing is.
Settle a bet, Rafe.
Yeah. And then they kiss, and there's a moment of, oh, I love you, and they have this connection. And Egwene starts to visit her friends. She has this moment of freedom. She's done what she needs to for Moraine. She's already, broken the oath that she gave to the wise ones. What's a little bit more traveling? Let me check on my friends.
So let's point out before we detail that just something, an ability that Egwene has gained. She can find people in the dream. Like, she knew how to get to where Swan was. And now she is going to check in on everybody. She has that ability now. It's not like so she's learned something, in this time period.
So she's going to go find, and of course she's going to start with Nynaeve. They're in the Two Rivers. Egwene looks around and knows this place, and looks up and sees Nynaeve on the bridge that we saw in season 1, where Nynaeve was talking to Egwene about the wind, and Nynaeve is teaching her daughter from the arches, what do you hear? The wind, and what else? Which is, echoing the conversation that Nynaeve had with Egwene. This moment of, oh my goodness, so sweet. Absolutely precious.
Well, yeah, that's, you guys had to point out who this child was to me. I didn't catch on, but wow, that's a bit of a twist of the knife, right? So
Yeah.
she is still dreaming about the child that she never had.
Yeah, but remembers giving birth and raising and living with for years.
Yep.
So like that is going to leave a deep scar in your life for sure.
Yeah.
And then Egwene finds Elaine, and she is doing the same dance that the Windfinder was doing on the Seafolk ship. And Avienda comes up behind and cuddles her as she channels the wind on the boat.
Okay, guys, what are you thinking? Is Elaine dreaming Avienda is coming, or did Avienda dream herself into Elaine?
I think Elaine dreamed that Avienda was there.
I think so too.
The same that Nynaeve dreamed of her daughter. Elaine dreamed of Avienda. Matt, which is the next visit, they're in Tar Valon, and Matt dreams that he is taking care of his sisters, and his mother tells him she's proud of him.
They're dressed all fancy.
Yeah, this was such a poignant moment because you think, okay, we're going to enter Matt's dream. What lecherous things is he dreaming about? No, he's dreaming about
his
taking care of his two sisters, and that his mom is telling him, "I'm proud of you." I was like, wow.
This mom that we know is dead.
Yes, exactly.
Mom that has just died saving his sisters. Like that's so my heart. And then of course she visits Perrin, who's working in the blacksmith shop, and there's Hopper chasing the embers that are flying, and he tells Hopper, you gotta stay down. And Fael comes in and pours some water, and there's a bunch of it's so joyful and so happy.
Yeah, they're a little nuclear family here.
Yeah.
So Perrin has, at least in his dreams, moved on. He's
buried
allowed
his
himself to
wife
think of
with the
someone
ring.
else.
Yeah, and has this connection with Fael, someone that saved his life, and has this moment. And then she finds Rand in the place that they were in season 1 together. It's like, oh, yay, I see Rand. And then all of a sudden this hand comes up. But can I talk about for a second the fact that it's the right hand of a woman coming around his head? Why is it the right hand? The thumb was down around his neck. How does that happen? How does that happen?
AI generated.
Right? Yeah. So because then you see her hands are coming up on either side of Rand's face, and it's the left hand is the right, on Rand's right cheek, but what the right? Yeah, I had questions.
I didn't even notice that.
I didn't even know.
I know. I'm sorry. These are the random things that I see. And Lanfear is kissing Rand, and then she spies Egwene, and Egwene recognizes this person as the person that attacked her in Tar Valon, and also the one that was confirmed to be Forsaken.
And of course Lanfear keeps kissing Rand
because watching her,
because that's gonna hurt even more than choking.
Yep, absolutely. That is a deeper stab wound than anything else.
Yeah, this is a cruel woman.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, and that's the end of the episode. Whew. Anything else before we head over to blow the horn?
No, I think just I I had the impression that this was going to be a shorter discussion, but it turns out it was pretty long, wasn't it?
It's almost like we have experience pulling apart every single word in a book series of multiple books and years of waiting between the books to try and break things down.
All right, blow that horn.
All right,
blow that book
let's
spoiler
blow
horn.
the spoiler horn of Valyrd. Start with the Sakardin. The beginning. I am wondering if this idea. So we know from the books that Kalendor doesn't have the buffer that keeps you from burning yourself out. The Choden Call do, but the Kalendor does not, which is why they talk about the Choden Call. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I am wondering how far did Maureen go with the power? Was she able to pull things in, and was there a buffer in that to protect her or not? Could she have
I mean, it felt like she was struggling, so it felt like she was
right on the edge.
Yeah. And the rules from the books don't necessarily apply here. So, we even saw in the first season, you're not supposed to be able to burn yourself out while channeling if you're a part of a circle. If you're part of the linked circle. That distribution helps. But that certainly did happen in that battle against the Trolloc Charge. So, what safeties there are using these amplification tools, it probably doesn't work in the same way. It'll basically work as the plot requires it to work.
No, it's true. It's true.
Sorry. So I was thinking that she's not powerful enough to use it fully. Because with the Choden Call, Nynaeve was the only one who could. They couldn't have anybody else because nobody else. Everyone else would have died. Yeah. So I think that she was struggling with it because it was too much for her. She couldn't safely channel that much of the power.
Or she was right at the edge of the capacity. It was testing her limits of the ability to do it. That's definitely the impression I got from her usage of this. Now, what do you think? So we talked about the Choden Call. When the Choden Call were used in a chapter in Winter's Heart that was called "With the Choden Call," they were going to cleanse the corruption on Saidin, and what happened is, and they knew this would happen, when they started channeling through the mightiest sangreal ever made, that would be a beacon flare for everybody who could sense channeling the world over. And we even go through a whole bunch of cultures and continents where people are saying, wonder what's happening. And of course, what that also means is the Forsaken become aware of who it is, where it is, and it would be like, we can't ignore this, we got to come. Now, I think what I suggested was maybe Maureen was trying to lure Lanfear there to force a confrontation. That's why she was just making these giant, semi-useless displays of power. But there are other female Forsaken who could sense that. And so I don't know if she had planned for that, if she didn't care.
Well, and I think Maureen knows that Lanfear probably knows where Rand is. I think she probably is not surprised, would not be surprised that this is not something that Lanfear would need to find Rand, because she's gonna know where he is.
Yeah.
So the other way of thinking about it is the way Aragorn in Lord of the Rings took the Palantir and says, okay, now I'm going to make a distraction, and I'm going to tell Sauron, here I am, I'm the king of Gondor, come again. I see you and you see me, kind of thing. So maybe that's a challenge she's issuing that is meant to distract and rage. Throw Lanfear off balance and distract her.
Because I'm sure Maureen is like, okay, there were so many times that I lost. What can I do to give myself just a little bit of an edge to maybe beat Lanfear, or at the very least take care of Lanfear at the same time so that she is not a problem for Rand.
Yeah.
Which is certainly her tactics in the book.
Yeah.
In the Fires of Heaven, she uses an Angreal, not a Sangreal, but an Angreal that's strong enough to lure Lanfear into saying, I think I want that. I'm going to take it from you.
Yep.
And or pick it up and take it, and then that's the bait for the trap that Moraine has set.
Yeah.
So this feels like it might be that.
And I also want to point out something that we did not talk about last episode. Speaking of that, Angreal, at the end, so in the books, after Rand comes out of the columns, the crystal forest, whatever you call it, there's a huge fight, and after Matt, comes out of his area with his Ashendari and has been choked and whatnot. I forget which Forsaken show up, but there's this huge, massive
Asmodean.
Oh, it's Asmodean.
Yeah,
Asmodean.
yeah. That's right. Asmodean comes and there's this huge battle that ends up clearing the fog of the city, and all of these Tel'aran'rhiod and Angreals and Sangreals are hanging out just lined up along the city.
Well, it's like the carts of the Aiel. They dumped all their stuff here in this place of safety.
Yeah. And the fountains bring water too, so Rand has brought water back to Ruidian, and that's not something that's happened in the show, which is totally fine. There's not that lure that Moraine has with the Angreal, but that's okay because who knows what's going to happen. And she's got a Sakarnan that is a big deal too. So okay, next up, the Sea Folk channeling.
So here's another instance where they're clothed when they could be naked.
Yes, exactly. Right. I think there's more power in having them, wearing these clothing. I wish. Here's one more little comment on production and stuff. I wish it had been brighter. It's so freaking dark. It was so hard to see. I'm like, come on, baby. My brightness on my monitor was as big as possible to try and see it. And I know, it was so frustrating. I wanted to see more detail. So hopefully, after this episode publishes, Sharon will be sharing some stuff on her Instagram feed so that we can get a look.
I hope so.
Yeah,
because the chains from the nose to the ear, you could see just a tiny little bit.
Yes, and the flowy pants that are gathered at the ankle, and just super. Yeah, I want to see more.
Yes.
Okay, and now we're going to talk about channeling. So in the books, channelers can sense when someone else is channeling.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not a thing in the show at all, because the rule is not, we don't take Aes Sedai on passage. We normally don't, but we're gonna take you, but you need to stay downstairs.
Yeah. So you don't see the flows.
Don't see what's happening.
Although at that level, being able to sense the flows too, I think maybe there's some inconsistencies in the shows.
Yeah.
I don't quite know if we've been able to see people feel that people are channeling nearby. I mean, that's a really big plot point in Lord of Chaos.
Yeah.
Where they're looking for the Black Aja and they're looking for where, and so they set up distractions. So some Aes Sedai are just going through novice exercises again and again to mask, to do misdirection on where they're actually holding Rand.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to manifest here. It feels like it's now visual.
Yeah.
And of
you
course,
can
men
see
and
when
women.
stuff is woven, but not, and you can only see. So with Samael, with Gabriel, you didn't see the compulsion being woven.
Right.
And it's like, okay, this is part of a plot point, like that part makes sense, but also there's a level of kind of, I guess, like, since the point of view is all of these women,
Right.
can you not see a man channel type of a thing for the story, for the plot, as opposed to like the parts where Rand and Maureen are together and they're talking about channeling, and you see, as the viewer, you see both channel, and you see the corruption around Rand's channeling, and so I think it's definitely part of a kind of a like, okay, we're going to show it when we want to, but not give away secrets.
There's perspective play here.
Yep.
And, with the Forsaken, there is the ability to invert your weaves, so it can't be seen by anyone.
That's true. That's a very good point. Yeah. So that's
but I think it's more like, I think there's like a perspective change, and like if there are no external observers to see a man channeling, they're not going to see it.
Yeah. Well, in season 1, when Rand was channeling unknowingly, like when he broke down the door at the inn with Dana, it in a flashback showed the actual flows, but it didn't show it, So again, it needed to be hidden, or else it would have been obvious.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's definitely a storytelling choice.
Yeah. Oh, it's totally fine.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. Like, don't get me wrong. Okay.
But also with the Windfinders, Elaine learned how to handle.
Yes.
I mean, this was a huge turning point in Elaine's channeling abilities. Like, she just, I guess, had an affinity for air and water, and was able to just like boom, her skills just grew exponentially.
Yeah. And I think with that dream, we have a little hint of that she's like collecting knowledge from every culture.
Which makes sense, because
as a queen.
She's shown that by talking about Tanchico all the time. For 2 weeks. Like that.
She's interested in absorbing cultures, absorbing other things, absorbing technologies, being a tinkerer. So yes, she's constantly learning. But we didn't see that, oh, can you teach me what you're doing? Yes, okay. For the rest of the journey, we're gonna teach you how to weave these flows like we do, and she's acquiring all of this. But the dream suggests that yes, she's learning.
Yeah. Okay, then Matt and Min, I want to talk about, because I have been seeing a lot of conversations all over the place about like, does this mean that Matt and Min are going to get together and Min's not going to get with Rand? And it's like, you can have relationships between men and women that are not sexual in nature. Like, there are other relationships. And I think this comes back to this story, this idea that this show is about relationships, and showing so many different kinds of relationships, and showing how whatever your relationships are, as long as both sides are consenting, like, that is an okay thing to do. In a really subtle, nice way. And so Matt and Min are a perfect example that obviously they get along really well, and that does not mean that they need to end up together.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was wondering if this is going to play into maybe Brigitte Silverbow doesn't make an appearance as Elaine's warder. And that was when Matt finally realizes, oh, a woman can be a friend, not a sexual partner. And so I think Min might just be filling that for him, like for his character growth.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think it's not an invalid question to ask when you're consuming episodes one at a time like that, because there have been deviations from the plot here and there, and you're wondering, okay, what's the next change that's going to be made? What's because Min really hasn't had any interaction except at the tavern with Rand.
Holding a baby that we kind of assumed was hers and Rand's baby.
Well, we assumed that, but we don't know. But but there's such good, easy chemistry right now between Min and Matt that, it's not an unreasonable thing
Oh,
to ask,
absolutely.
especially given, just how
Life.
plots progress
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
well, how stories even are told.
Yeah.
There's the meet cute, there's the deepening of the relationship, and there's the blossoming of the
Yeah,
romance.
for sure.
But you're right. This show is not, it doesn't follow those patterns. It tries to explore a lot of different patterns
Yeah.
too. So I think based on what the show is and what it's trying to do, you're absolutely right. This is probably a friendship. This is, uh, you know, and we know that Rafe has said that they're going to revisit what's in the books,
Yep.
but not quite in the same way.
Yeah. Well, and you see that by Roark's wives kissing, because they
Mhm.
didn't
Yeah.
do that in the books. They didn't have, they had the it seemed as if their relationships were as sisters, first sister type relationships. There's a couple times I think that like they talk about how, we were first sisters first, and then we decided to take a man to
Yeah.
into our type of relationship. And so by just making this like, hey, this is blatant, this is obvious, like we're putting this out here, it's adding into that texture of the relationships that we think Rand and the three women will have.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
with
established certain dynamics.
yeah, in the books with Gaul and Bane and Chiad, Gaul didn't have a choice. He fell in love with Bane, I think, but then had to sleep with Chiad as well. That was like part of the deal.
Chad was along with that
Yeah.
package deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. Okay, and then the last thing I have on my list is, Rajiv, you wanted to talk about the wolf head on the stake.
Yeah. So, on one hand, it was a wolf that Geoffrey Bornhold was fighting, and he killed the wolf, and that's why Perrin killed him. And so wolves are enemies of White Cloaks as well. So, there's all that. So that was there. But, we were also introduced to Lord Luke. And Lord Luke, in the books, of course, is half of Slayer, who in the dream world goes and kills wolves. And we don't know we haven't seen Luke again yet.
Not yet.
So, who's he allying himself with? He doesn't seem like a great guy. We don't know much about him, though.
Yeah.
But he's certainly not hanging around with the Two Rivers folk.
Yeah.
And Fail, who was his original traveling companion.
Yeah.
So, where is he? What is he doing? Is this a bit of foreshadowing that Slayer in some form is there, and maybe he's allied with the White Cloaks?
Yeah, possible.
It's just something
definitely.
that jumped out at
Came
me.
in your
It's
head.
like,
Yeah, because it's also possible that like that was the only time we ever see Lord Luke too. Like
That's
it's
possible
entirely
as well.
possible that it's like, hey, here's a nod to the books, but like we're just
That's
gonna
what I
cut
was
that out.
thinking.
Is he an Easter egg or is he a plot point?
Yeah,
We don't
Yeah,
know.
Easter,
Yeah.
I think Easter egg. Well, because if you remember in the books, Lord Luke was Tigraine's brother, so he would be Rand's uncle.
Right.
And he didn't look old enough
And he doesn't look
to
like
be that same character.
Yeah.
Which again,
And
so
there's a lot
confusing.
of complexity there that probably doesn't even need to
Unnecessary.
exist. But
Unnecessary. Yeah. Confusion. That again, the point I'm going to make, again, I'm going to say this, everyone take a shot every time I mention this. Still do not understand it, and that's okay. I don't need to. Yeah. But I think that's all I have.
yeah, I mean, is there anything we know? Book readers know the end point of Elida and Swan. I think Elida is much more capable in this incarnation.
Oh gosh,
than
yeah.
she
So
was in the
much
And
books.
even more likable. Like, you understand why she's doing what she's doing. Whereas
Yeah.
in the book, she was just like a psychopath.
Yeah. I mean, she was very much well, okay, I won't get political, but she was
Yes.
kind of a dumb bully who ended up in power
Yeah.
and was propped up by evil people,
Yeah.
but
Right.
wasn't necessarily herself a mastermind of the evil plot, was certainly
Well, and
a convenient idiot.
she thought that she was smarter than she was, which is
Yes.
how it was so easy for Alviarin and the rest of the Black Aja to manipulate her, because like you just drop a couple hints and it's like, oh, that's a great idea, and they're all like, yeah, you had such a good idea.
Yeah.
And
Very easy to manipulate her, very easy to play to her ego and to her vanity and to her kind of spite.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a more interesting character for sure. And
So much more interesting.
they scored such a fascinating actor for the role that I think.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed though, the bracelet that she wears that is part of a prophecy kind of thing. Way back when that casting was announced, the speculation first was, oh, this is Cat Swain.
Yeah. Right.
And when it was Elida, I was like, oh, well, she's too good to be Elida, so they must be amping up Elida. But that bracelet, which seems to have a number of different charms, it looks to me like it might be another nod to Cad Swain's hair ornaments with different, because there is something significant about it. She mentions it as part of the foretelling or part of the prophecy.
Yeah. Well, and too, and this is something that came out on social media. Someone picked up, I think, in either the video that she put out recently, becoming Elida, or one of Sharon's behind the scenes or something. There's a piece of paper on a table that has a picture of a costume and then a picture of the bracelet. And underneath the bracelet is written Redstone / Eelfin bracelet, always worn on right hand, V imp, so very important part of costume, !
Okay, I think that just confirmed it.
Yeah, so this is clearly something very important. We're confirming the Eelfin. So we're confirming that part of things.
That's big. That'll make everyone happy.
Don't ask me which, if the Eelfin are the snakes or the foxes.
No, Eelfin or foxes.
Okay.
Eelfin or snakes.
Okay, thank you. But see, don't ask me, because like there's snakes on it. So I would think that it would be.
Well, there's snakes and foxes.
Oh, is there? Oh, I'm looking.
Yeah. So when Max and Rand are playing games of snakes and foxes, what's it called?
Yeah, snakes and foxes. Yeah.
Okay. It's those same almost charms.
Okay.
And it's got one on one end and one on the other.
Perfect.
Okay, so there are charms on this. Okay.
Yeah. So it's possible too that they are maybe combining the names of them to be just Eelfin. And that means both the snake and the foxes versus Eelfin versus Aelfin. Again,
Now what do you think with this? Is Cad Swain going to be conflated into Elida's character?
I think if we are lucky enough to get to this level of where it would make sense for Cad Swain to come in, I can see a different type of teacher. Maybe it's Varen coming in. I don't think Elida is the one that's going to be this teacher, because she has such a pivotal plot point in the breaking of the tower, in the connection with the Black Aja. There's no way that she could come from whatever she's going to do with the tower and then become this, grandmother person to Rand and teach him what he needs to know and all of that. I think that if we have, I don't think we will see Cad Swain.
Yeah.
If we are lucky enough to get future
I am
seasons.
just like, it would be super ambitious and I would be all for it because I think this actor could do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Showing that if Elida had a change in philosophy, a change of heart when she realized what the dragon meant and maybe had her own foretelling of what needed to happen.
And bend her knee.
She says, you know what?
I don't see
we
that.
have to align the tower.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like an 11th
Red
hour
sister.
battle
Yeah,
thing.
I don't see
I
it.
think there's too much stacked against them.
Yeah, I don't think so. Especially when you're spending all of this season building that up. But yeah, I would bet money on no Kedswain. If
Yeah,
again,
I'm sure there's no
God
Kedswain
bless,
here either.
like please Amazon, please future. The season's doing great. We're seeing articles in mainstream media. People that have never watched the show will like. I'll wear my Wheel of Time jacket out, and people will recognize the symbol. So like, I'm
Nice.
saying, just
Yeah.
saying. Yeah. So let's please. But yeah.
How about the Lanfear Egwene thing? So like, in Fires of Heaven, when Lanfear kind of goes berserk is when she learned that Rand was sleeping with someone.
Yeah. Who is she?
Yeah, it was Avienda, and it was, more or less non-sexual because they were just,
keeping warm.
Avienda was needed to stick to him, to Rand, to teach him at every moment, but even that was too much for Lanfear.
Yeah.
Now this isn't the same dynamic. Lanfear knows
all.
that there's a sexual relationship between Rand and Egwene and Rand and Lanfear. So it's not that, but it does feel like the Lanfear's coming for Egwene, obviously, in this one, and has been for a while.
Yeah.
And that becomes a bit of a flashpoint at some point.
Yeah, she's definitely manipulating the situation. She's manipulating Egwene by torturing her. She's manipulating Rand by saying, hey, Egwene's not going to get you like I get you. It's all of the layers of this. And it's, one step of her plan works. She's now not going to be staying with Rand in Cold Rock's hold. She's going to go to the Wise Ones so the Wise Ones could protect her from this. And I think like that's an important point to make.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so Egwene has been removed from that situation. All right.
Yep.
So whatever that confrontation is between Maureen and Lanfear, which, this episode really seems to be setting up between last episode and this episode. I think we're going to get that blowout at some point in here. But it seems like it won't be it won't be involving jealousy. Yeah.
Which, thank goodness. Like, let's talk about real quick how often this show beats the Bechdel test. Like, the lowest bar possible. Okay, for anyone that doesn't know, the Bechdel test is where more than one woman has a conversation that does not relate to a man. The number of movies and TV shows that do not pass this very simple test is bananas. And there are so many conversations. Pretty much every episode passes the Bechdel test. And I think that's a really important and powerful moment to acknowledge and recognize that, like, that's pretty cool. Again, bare minimum, low ass bar.
You're absolutely right about that, but jealousy does figure into the Rand Egwene Lanfear dynamic right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It absolutely does.
Absolutely. But this
whole
it's not
going
dynamic,
to be part of
that. The whole end of Lanfear as we know her and end of Moraine as we know her is not because Lanfear is jealous and wants to know who she is. Like that is it's gonna be a real again, there will be pieces of jealousy in this. There's gonna be like, I'm controlling him versus you type of a situation. I'm guessing like some sort of
it's hard to avoid Rand coming up in conversation because he is the he is the piece on the board that you need to control in
Yes.
order to win the game.
Yes, but it's not going to be because, oh my gosh, someone else touched my toy.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really important. And
I mean,
I'm really happy to see that happen.
So I think I asked you this before.
Well, I've probably forgotten. So
well, no. Do we have any word about why did I just blank on the actress's name for Maureen?
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike. Any contract beyond this or nothing
We haven't
announced?
Yeah, we have seen nothing about season 4 at all. The only thing we've seen is that Rafe is writing.
Okay.
That's it.
So
that
there
doesn't
is
mean anything because
Yeah.
he could write all of the seasons and they'd never
It could be in anticipation
Yeah.
of renewal.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we don't have any inside information that
No.
will tell us whether Moraine lives, dies, gets sucked into Sindel for,
no clue.
So, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. It could be that Lanfear dies. It could be that Moraine dies. It could be that both of them die. It could be that both of them get shunted off into another
it could be
dimension.
that neither of them die. Like, we don't know. Like any of this is possible. Any of this is possible.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
All right. Watch and find out, Rajiv. Watch and
I
find
know.
out.
I know.
All right. You can find links to follow us online in the show notes or on Dragonmount.com. On our website, we have tons of great content about the Wheel of Time. Blog posts, chapter and episode summaries, news, as well as links to our YouTube channel that has tons of great videos there. You will definitely find something to entertain you. Also, make sure to check out our Patreon. Not only do you get to support the community of creators here at Dragonmount, but we have other goodies for you too, including the beginning of this episode where I changed my shirt about 4 different times because here's a little spoiler for those that are listening to the podcast and not viewing it. I am wearing a different color for each Aja for each of these 8 episodes, including the black Aja, of course. And my green was, at first it was too gray, and then my next one was too brown. And so like basically I had a lot of issues. So we're going to probably put that up on the Patreon.
And here I thought it's just because we're recording on St. Patrick's Day.
And also because it just happened to be also St. Patrick's Day. And this was, an Alana heavy episode. So that's why I went green today. So, all of the things, the wheel weaves as a wheel wills. And you'll get to see that up on the Patreon. I have been Kathy Campbell.
I have been Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr.
This is not the ending, but it is an ending. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye.